Welcome to today's session on curriculum mapping with Curriculum Connector. Prior to showing you the steps on how to complete your diary maps within Curriculum Connector, you will be presented with an overview about the purpose of curriculum mapping. Our essential question for today's session is as follows. How can the data we receive from curriculum mapping support our formal collaboration with one another and increase student performance? In this session, you will learn what curriculum mapping is, why we are curriculum mapping, the components of a quality curriculum map, how to use Curriculum Connector to map, and become aware of the reports available about your curriculum maps. It all starts with improving student achievement. We need to start with a foundation of standards-based assessment and curriculum, using multiple data perspectives, both locally and within our classrooms, as well as our local state assessments. Using technology as a tool to help us, data that will drive our decisions will be used as the basis to inform our instructional decisions, with the end goal being increased student achievement. Curriculum mapping is a procedure for collecting and maintaining a database of the operational curriculum in a school district. It ensures a consistent core curriculum for all students, no matter what building they attend in Warren County School District. It will also provide the data needed to develop a meaningful vision for our school district. We use maps to gain information that helps to enable teachers to identify gaps, redundancies, and misalignments in the curriculum and our instructional programs in order to foster a dialogue among teachers about their work. Though teachers may work together in the same building for years, they usually don't have much knowledge about what goes on in each other's classrooms. High school teachers may not be familiar with their colleagues' books, concepts, and assignments. A middle school team may work to develop a specific unit, but have limited information about any other team in the building. Elementary schools can be very nurturing environments, but are fundamentally a collection of one-room schoolhouses. But if this is happening, the gaps within the teachers within the buildings, there are virtual Grand Canyons amongst the buildings in our district, but no one's to blame for this, because who has time to gather all this information? Curriculum mapping will amplify the possibilities of long-range planning, short-term preparation, and clear communication. The purpose of the map is to reveal what's actually going on in the curriculum. Think of it as a roadmap for developing a coherent educational journey guided by professionals collaborating to bring about greater student success in being college, career, and citizen ready upon high school graduation. There is infinitely more to teach than there is time to teach it. However, by prioritizing content at each grade level and ensuring teachers are successfully navigating their instruction using the same map, schools can maximize student learning and ensure students do not experience fragmented, incoherent, or repetitive learning experiences. Mapping provides the opportunity to reflect on what is being taught, the way we are teaching, and identify where curriculum issues occur. These maps are a work in progress, and there's an expectation that they will change and grow as new information arises. Core maps target the specific areas in each discipline that are to be addressed with consistency in a school district. The core map reflects the agreed upon content and skills within each course that are addressed with consistency and flexibility. We core map to define the common learning targets of what students must know, understand, and be able to do, to communicate the agreed upon curriculum, and to provide a resource for instructional decision-making and teacher planning. The diary map is where the individuality comes in. It allows teachers to be flexible using the core map for their individual classes. It showcases the differentiated approaches that happens within each of your courses. We diary map to illustrate how the core map is implemented in the classroom. It helps us assist in our response to the variety of needs of our students. It showcases how teachers can be flexible in their approach and delivery of the curriculum, and it will also identify the gaps and repetitions. This Venn diagram shows an example of how the core maps and the diary maps work together. Each of these teachers used the core map as the foundation And then they apply their specific skills, content, strategies, adaptations to their diary map in order to individualize what's happening in their classrooms. The end result is a collaborative data collection of the fundamental curriculum every student receives, whereas the diary map is the individual data collection on what is actually taught in each of our classrooms. So we have a shift from going into our classroom, shutting the door, instructing, to being able to collaborate and open our doors to provide that professional learning community amongst our staff. Turning maps into data. First, we need to start with collecting the data using the maps. Once that information is gathered from the reports, taking that information along with other sources of data to make informed instructional decisions. The different components of mapping are units and possibly subunits, content, skills, assessments, lessons, standards, essential questions, and resources. Essential questions typically will not have a single, final, and correct answer. They are thought-provoking and intellectually engaging. They call for higher order thinking, such as analysis, inference, evaluation, and prediction. They may raise additional questions that spark further inquiry. They require support and justification, not just a simple answer. And it can recur over time, so the question can and should be revisited again and again. The considerations for developing essential questions is, what is the targeted understanding? And given the content knowledge to be learned, why is this an important skill and content to be learned for the student? Here are some types of essential questions. We both have overarching and topical. The characteristics of overarching essential questions are that they are broad. They go beyond a specific unit. It leads to a big idea and enduring understanding. It may link a topic to other related topics or subjects, and it can provide coherence for the students so they understand the purpose of what they're learning. Whereas topical essential questions are very specific. They lead to understanding of a topic within a particular unit. They answer using the unit's content, and it stays within the bounds of a topic. Standards are our guide to larger outcomes. It's what the student should know and be able to do. They're used to develop the basis for our content and skills. It dictates what the students will demonstrate, and it represents our minimum expectations. We can use our standards to find our content. So if we take a look at this standard, differentiating fact from opinion in non-fictional text, our content are the nouns. So our content would be facts in a non-fictional text and opinions in a non-fictional text. We can also unwrap standards to find the skills. Our skills are our verbs. Once again, looking at the same standard, we can differentiate would be our skill. How do we do that? By identifying statements of fact, interpreting statements of fact, identifying statements of opinion, and interpreting statements of opinion. Our content tells what the students will know when proficient, focuses on specific knowledge, is written as a noun or a noun phrase, and clarifies what the student should know. Here are some content examples. You can see the different discipline areas, the unit name, and the content. Notice that the content is the key concepts, facts, and/or events. Also notice here the counterexample. Content does not include chapter 1 or unit names. Our skills can be assessed, measured, and observed. They're described in specific terms and are action verbs. Examples of skills are as follows. Alphabetize to the second letter. Identify main idea and supporting details. Estimate sums and differences. Interpret data in a bar graph. Define the hypothesis and conclusion. Compare and contrast the risks and benefits of nuclear power. Analyze the experiment. It's what the students will be able to do. Our assessments are the demonstration of learning or the observable evidence, listed as defined nouns, and can be tangible products or observable performances. Within the software, you are going to need to choose which type of assessment you are using and the purpose of your assessment. Is it an assessment of learning, which would be summative? Is it an assessment for learning, which would be formative? Or are you going to use a student self-assessment, which would also be formative? The purpose for identifying assessment purpose is because we can run reports to determine how often are the different purposes used. When are we using formative assessments and when are we using summative assessments, whether it be across a department, a course, or the entire district. We will also need to select our methods of assessment. You have 4 choices to choose from. You may choose one of these or more than one of these when you're doing your methods of assessment. Selected response, extended written response, performance assessments, or personal oral communication. Once again, reports can be run to identify the method and type of assessments, whether it be across a department, across a course, or across the entire district. Different types of assessments that can be used are listed as follows. Assessments reveal proficiency of targeted skill development, knowledge and insight into content. It provides the evidence that students are learning the identified content, skills, and standards. Our lessons are the instructional activities focusing on the content and skills. This is the daily plan of what's happening in your classroom to introduce, develop, reinforce, and/or challenge students on the concepts, skills, and standards. The lesson development you are going to need to choose. Is this lesson going to be an introductory lesson, a developing lesson, a reinforcing lesson, or a challenging lesson? How will your activities and resources for this lesson be differentiated? And what resources and/or media will support this lesson? Once again, reports can be run to determine which different types of lesson levels are being used in our school district. So how do we use Curriculum Connector to effectively map our curriculum? At this point, we're going to ask you to log into Performance Plus by either choosing the icon in your desktop or opening eSchool within your teacher gradebook and choosing the Reports icon in your gradebook.
Once again, we are able to access Performance Plus one of 2 ways. You can select the Performance Plus icon on your desktop, or open up eSchool and click on the bar graph to the right of the course title. Once you are in Performance Plus, go ahead and scroll across the icons on the top of the screen. In the menu bar, look for the compass rose. If you hover over the compass rose, you will see course maps. Go ahead and click that now. On the right-hand side, you will see your name along with the drop-down box to view the courses that are assigned to you at the beginning of the school year based on the master schedule. Select the course that you will be diary mapping for the remainder of this school year. The program defaults to the current month's diary map. You can see the month, name of the unit, the standards, essential questions, assessments, content, skills, lessons, strategies DI, adaptations, and resources for this month. Anything that has an icon of a house means that it is from the core map. Remember, the core map is the non-negotiables of what must be taught across the district in this course. Within the diary map, you have the choice to add standards, essential questions, content, skills, and resources in addition to what is listed from the core map. You will need to add assessments, lessons, strategies and DI, and adaptations to your diary map. Let's start with standards and work our way across. If you would like to add a standard, choose the tiny black drop-down arrow in the upper left-hand corner of standards. Select Add Standard. A list of available standards appear. At the very top of the pop-up menu, it says Standard Area. you can select from the drop-down arrow any additional standards that might be associated with your course. At the bottom middle of the screen, it tells you how many pages worth of standards you have. To see them all on one page, simply add a 0 to the right of the 10 in the bottom left-hand side of the screen that says per page, then hit go. To add a standard or standards to your diary map, select the checkbox to the right of the standard. Then scroll all the way down and click Add Standards in the gray box. The standards you choose will now appear under Standards within your personal diary map. Note, they do not have a little house icon because it is something that you added. Let's move on to essential questions. Remember, these are focused on the big idea of the unit. More than likely, you will not need to add any essential questions to your diary map. However, if you have suggestions for improvement on the essential questions already listed, go ahead and add that here. The maps will be continually reviewed by your department to determine their effectiveness. Once again, select the tiny black drop-down arrow in the upper left-hand corner of Essential Questions. You have the choice to add essential questions or search essential questions. Choose Add Essential Question. You would type your essential question within the box. Note, you have the ability to use the word formatting tools. If you choose to search essential questions, you will see a pop-up on Search menu. Unless you know specifically of a map that has an essential question you would want to use, this would become a very tedious and time-consuming process. You have the ability to search by schools, dates, years, months, buildings, and so on. To close the search menu, select the white X in the upper right-hand corner of the search menu. Assessments. Any assessment you have for this month for this course can be added here. Select the black drop-down arrow to add an assessment. Select Add Assessment. Please note your assessments will not be searchable. Let me say that again. Your assessments will not be searchable. Only your administrators will have access to your assessments. Your assessment must have a name, preferably a name that describes what you are measuring rather than just Quiz Chapter 6 or Test Chapter 4. Select the purpose of your assessment, the method, and type of assessment you are giving, and date you are assigning this assessment. Deselect the searchable button. Next, select the content, skills, and standards. You have the ability to choose more than one content, skill, and standard if it goes with this assessment. You are welcome to fill out the text boxes for directions, product, scoring criteria, materials, and notes. However, if you have that information included on your assessment, you can simply upload your document under Media by selecting the Browse button and locating the document within your files. Once again, deselect the searchable checkbox. Then select Add Media to your assessment. If a student is completing an online assessment, you can add the URL including HTTP or HTTPS. Click on Add Link to your assessment. It is important that you click Save so this information will be added to your personal diary map. Go ahead and click on the X and you will now see your assessment uploaded to your diary map. Moving on to content. You can select the black drop-down arrow to add or search content. Searching content can be done the same way we search for essential questions, Let's add content. Once again, a text box appears with word formatting tools. I would recommend, if you plan on adding more than one, that you enter each content and select Save individually. You want your content separated so that when working with drop-down menus in assessments and lessons, all your content and skills won't clump together as one. We add skills the same way we add content, by clicking on the black drop-down arrow and adding a skill. Remember, if you add a skill, add them individually. We will come back to lessons at the end. Moving on to strategies and DI. Select the black drop-down arrow to add or search strategies DI. Searching strategies will be done the same way as we did for essential question. Let's add strategies. Inclusion teachers, please note how you will differentiate this lesson to meet the needs of the special education students in this course. Once again, a text box with word formatting tools will appear. After each strategy you add, click the Save button. Click the white X in the upper right-hand corner to close this text box. Your new strategy will appear. Adaptations. To add an adaptation, select the black drop-down arrow. A text box appears with word formatting tools. Add specific adaptations you use for this particular unit in the box. If you are an inclusion teacher, please provide the specific adaptations for the students you service within this course. Be sure to click Save after each adaptation is added. You can search adaptations by clicking on the black arrow and searching adaptations. Be sure to identify your co-teacher within the search filter, or leave this filter blank to see what adaptations are listed in other maps within the district or your building. If you want to add something to your diary map, click on the paper to copy this element into your personal map. This adaptation now appears within your diary map. You are now ready to put a weekly lesson within Performance Plus. In the menu bar, select the lesson planner that looks like a calendar. Click on Show Calendar to view the previous, current, and next month. Click on the date you want to add a lesson. The date will appear green. Click on Add New Calendar Item. It is not necessary to choose a start and end time. You have the choice to add a new lesson or add an existing lesson. Let's first look at the reoccurrence information. Click Reoccurring Item. If you are a specials teacher, here's where you can identify the same lesson will be used throughout the week. Be sure to identify an end date. And press OK. Let's add a new lesson. Here, you will plan your lesson. Give the lesson a specific name by typing in the text box. Identify the lesson level by clicking on the black arrow in the box. Leave the check mark in the searchable box. This will allow your administrator to search for your lessons. Identify the course, unit, and subunit for this lesson. Because a unit has been identified, you're able to add content, skill, and standards associated with that unit. Click the black arrow next to content. Click the content that identifies this unit, and then press Add. The content will now appear in the box. Repeat this for both skill and standard. You are able to add as much content, skills, and standards associated with the lesson by repeating the click, click, and add steps. How do you plan on differentiating this lesson to meet the needs of all the students? You can type these strategies within this text box. Provide the lesson agenda and activities within the activities text box, and any resources and materials needed for this lesson within this text box. The notes text box allows you to provide any additional information needed for this lesson. However, if you provide any of this information attached in the media, you don't need to use the text boxes. You can add any documents needed for this lesson by browsing your files. Provide a description of the file and click Add Media to the lesson. If the searchable box is left checked, you are allowing others to see what you have attached. You can also add any URLs you use. You're able to add your websites under links. And click on Add Link to Lesson. In the upper right-hand corner, click on the Save button. Go ahead and click on the white X. And let's go back to our diary map by clicking on the compass rose. Now we are able to see the lesson we added within our own diary map. Repeat the steps to plan for the week.
This is the conclusion of our webinar on curriculum mapping and how to diary map. Thank you for participating.